Hey everybody, day 30 of the weight loss challenge, and I've got a good one for you. So it is 10 o'clock at night, it's late, and guess what happens late at night? We get ourselves in trouble with the munchies, and it happens to everybody. So I have some ideas to help you deal with cravings and late night munchies, which are an ever-present problem for anyone trying to lose weight. So let's do a couple things. I want to talk about some of the reasons why we get the munchies, and then we're going to talk about some strategies about how to deal with them. So I'll be brief on the reasons why, because that's really less important than the strategies. But there is an element to our lives that's basically grooved patterns, and that is a integral part of the way everyone lives for the most part. So we get up at the same time for the most part, we take our kids to school, we go to work, we come home, we make our dinner, we go to sleep, we take a shower, whatever it is, but all these things are based on patterns. And eating bad food is generally part of a pattern as well. So it is possible to break these patterns, which is the good news, but it takes a little bit of practice. And it takes a little bit of consistency, and that's basically what weight loss is all about. So there is a physiological element that's a little less well established, because it's not really thought of that the properties of food are really addictive, although some people really have strong leanings towards sugar and salt in particular. But to say that they're actually quote unquote addictive is really too strong and generally not supported by medical evidence. So it's mostly a psychological component and not really a physiological component in most cases. So that's the good news. The good news is not like nicotine or heroin or something like that. You can break these habits. So let's talk about some of the strategies. So there's some really good things that you can do that are very easy and basic that I'm going to recommend. So one of them is that it's really good not to get too hungry, particularly at night. If you're doing fasting, which everyone knows I like fasting, but if you're going to do it, fasting at night tends to be problematic for a lot of people. They tend to want to eat something at night. We tend to be relaxed more at night. Work is over and we're sitting around watching TV or hanging around with our spouse or significant other, whatever it is. But there's enough downtime that it's easy to start gravitating towards food. So that's one thing. So try another one is to not only not get too hungry, but make sure that you have enough fluid in you. We talked about water recently on a previous video, and this is kind of like dovetailing off of that. I was saying that water in and of itself will not make you lose weight, but it will make you think less of food because you're full of fluid. So fill up on fluids. That really helps to keep that satiety issue under control, so you don't feel that strong desire to be hungry. Now, what I'm about to tell you next is a practical solution, and it really is an important one, and it's important to start working on this one, and that is, don't buy things that you keep in your house that are bad for you. Buying candy, buying high-calorie things, buying sugary sweets, whatever it is, potato chips, those things should not be in your house. You've got to get into an idea of like giving up the 3 things that we talked about earlier on in one of these videos. Give up 3 things, give up 3 new things, keep doing that to groove in new habits. It doesn't take long if you give up 3 things a week to get rid of a lot of bad things out of your diet. So that's another one. Now, moving on to a couple of practical ideas, and that is the following. So one of the things I really like to do is have some very low calorie options available. The ones that I really like, my favorite really, is sugar-free Jell-O gelatin. So there's 2 different types of Jell-O that are sugar-free. One of them is the pudding, the other one is the gelatin. The pudding is low in calories, but it still has about 60 calories or so per serving, so it's not 0. Whereas the sugar-free gelatin has, I think it's like for the entire packet, which is a pretty large amount when it's all prepared, it's something like 4 cups total, is like 10 calories or 5 calories. I mean, basically it's 0. So that is a fantastic dessert to have around. So make up some Jell-O, stick it in the fridge. If you get the munchies, you can eat the entire bowl of Jell-O if you want to. And you know what? It's pretty darn good. It's not as good maybe as a piece of chocolate cake, but it's still pretty good, and it's 0 calories. I mean, that is a fantastic thing to be able to do. So that's one. I recommend a couple of other ones that we've talked about before. That is celery and salsa, which salsa is pretty low in calories, and celery is extremely low in calories, and you can pretty much munch that as much as you want without a lot of guilt. I mean, if you ate the whole bag of celery or stalk of celery and went through an entire jar and a half of salsa or something like that, well, then maybe you kind of get a little higher up in the calories. But still, it's not as bad as eating pizza or cookies or potato chips or all the other things that you want to stay away from. So that's another one. And then, recently I've kind of gotten into cucumbers also. Those are really good, and you can slice those and put a little salt on them and just, pop them in your pie hole. They're delicious. And another one, this sounds really odd also, but it's extremely filling and good, is a tomato. I get these large like beefsteak tomatoes, and I slice them up like an orange and put a little salt on those, and they're good. I mean, it's not chocolate cake, but you get full off of it, and it's almost guilt-free. I think an entire tomato is like 35 or 40 calories, something like that. It's almost zero, and they're big. Those things are as big as your hand. So these are some ideas that you can put into place. So just like stay away from the bad food in the grocery store. Get away from buying things that are working against you. Don't buy a bunch of sugary snacks for your kids if you can possibly avoid it. That's the thing that kills so many people, is they end up buying things with a good intent of giving it to their children and then eat it all themselves. I mean, I had a client that was doing so well in her weight loss. She lost something like 60 pounds, and then she started backsliding and eating all of her kids' pudding packs and chocolate chip cookies and everything else that she said were for her son. But anyway, she started eating them all, and it ruined her diet, and unfortunately she gained a lot of weight back. So a little bit of discipline is always going to be required for anyone that wants to maintain their weight. So that's a little sidebar. But anyway, so pick some good things in the grocery store that you like, that are low calorie. Stay away from getting too hungry at night and not filling up on enough water so that you feel full. Those are big ways to avoid overeating. And one thing I want to say about overeating and snacking and all that stuff, this is one of those things that it takes a little practice. There's not like a magic formula for this like there are for some other things. This is one of those things that it just takes a little bit of practice, but you can do it. Just take little steps. It took a long time to put this weight on. It can take a while to take it off. Don't get too stressed about it. Just start cutting back on the bad things. You will eventually lose weight if you just start eating better, okay? So again, I ask this every time. Please follow my social media below. I appreciate you guys and watching these videos. I have a lot of fun making them, and I appreciate your patience maybe when they get a little long, which of course is still entertaining, right? So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I believe is day 30. I don't have my notes in front of me. I'm getting the days wrong all the time on these videos. It's kind of funny. So forgive me for that. But I believe this is day 30. Hope you guys are doing great. I've got other good stuff coming up for you in upcoming videos. So I hope you guys are enjoying this and doing a good job with your weight loss and learning a lot. So good night. Hope you guys do great, and we'll talk more tomorrow.